questions for the end, as we'll be taking questions towards the end of the session. Our guest for today, we have Janice. She heads communication at CyberPeace, and Shri Shotank Mishra, IPS, SP, Saraidev. Prior to joining the police services, he has worked in technology with MNCs like Wipro Technology and in an Australia and New Zealand bank. So over to you, sir.
Thanks, Alec, and a very warm welcome to all the viewers. If you could just start the presentation, Alec.
Yes.
Can you make it full screen?
Yes,
and
yes.
go to the first slide, please.
Yeah, of course, we'll be starting from first.
Right. So, if you could just make it full screen, Salik. Yeah, thank you. As Salik has already told, the topic for today's session is fighting misinformation. Now, before that, probably we need to see what is information, what is misinformation, and what is malinformation. So information is anything that you get as data points and then you process it to make some sense out of it. And when it is malified, that becomes malinformation. And when there is basically some kind of changes or misrepresentation of the information, then it becomes misinformation. If you could go to the next slide, please, Salik. So as we know that misinformation or fake news, it's not a new phenomenon. It's been going on for ages. And this is the episode that most of us are well familiar with. When in Mahabharat, it was found that fighting with Guru Dron was very difficult for the Pandavas. So they had this idea that if Guru Dron's son was Ashwathama, and there was an elephant that was also named Ashwathama. So this idea was floated that if someone kills Ashwathama, and then if this news is broken to Guru Dron, probably he'll lay down his arms and then it will be easy to defeat him. Accordingly, I think Bhim was the one who killed the elephant. And then because Yudhishthir was supposed to be the truthful one, he was convinced to break this news saying that Ashwathama has been killed. I think in Sanskrit he said Ashwathama Hato. And because he was so truthful, he also said that not man, but the elephant, Narova, Kunjarova. And he said it is Kunjar, that is elephant. But at the same time, a conch was blown and this part of the information was drowned in that sound of the conch. So Guru Dron actually felt that his son had been killed. He laid down his arms and eventually was defeated in the battle. So this is how misinformation normally propagates. Some part of it may be correct. Some part of it, which is actually crucial, is normally left out or basically drowned out in other noise so as to change the narrative. Next slide, please, Salik. So in that background, we'll see how the information has been growing over the ages. Initially, it was only through word of mouth, as we just saw in the Battle of Mahabharat. It was through word of mouth that information was flowing. And then we have the earliest written records from 3000 BC. Then around 660 BC, the Assyrian kings, they started organizing things by tablets and by subjects. And slowly the information has been growing on. I think the crux in this was 1450 when Gutenberg invented the printing press, and all of a sudden written information or printed information was available to a large number of people. But as far back as 1480, if you see, Vatican Library had just 3,500 volumes and it was considered to be the most well-stocked library at that time. Then as we go along, in 1970, SGML was developed. And then in 1992, we had the internet explosion. After that, the amount of information that we have been producing and consuming has just exploded. Next slide, please, Alec. So if we see here, till 1900, the data or the knowledge that the entire humankind had, it used to double every century. Then as we move forward, in 1945, this doubling rate, we are very familiar with doubling rates now with the COVID infection. So in this case, it is about knowledge. So this doubling rate was around 25 years. In 25 years, the entire knowledge of humankind used to just double. By 1982, this doubling rate had become 12 to 13 months. That means what you know today and what you know next year. So next year, it will be twice of what you knew last year. So this curve was developed by Buckminster Fuller, and then it was basically extrapolated by IBM, and they predicted that by 2020, which is now, the knowledge would double every 11 to 12 hours, which is what we are seeing now, with everyone having a smartphone, producing new data points, and consuming gigabytes of data every day and every hour. Next slide, please, Salil. So with that background of the amount of information we produce and consume, we come to types of misinformation that we have. So this is again from a website called First Draft. The author there had categorized the kind of misinformation that is floating around in these seven categories. So first is satire or parody, and if you see the arrow on the left side, it is the basically intention is not that bad, whereas on the right extreme, it is extremely malintended. So if you see the first category, that is satire or parody, a lot of memes are floating around on the internet, and here the intent is not to cause harm, but it is just for fun or some frolic. Then you have misleading content. So in misleading content, you have the misleading use of information to frame an issue or individual. Normally, some of the information might be correct, but it might be used in a context that is somewhat different. Then we have imposter content. So here, someone will say that I am someone else, and he'll basically try to impersonate a genuine source. Someone might be coming to us saying that, okay, this article has been published in Times of India, whereas it might just be a Photoshop job. And then you have fabricated content, where the content itself is 100% false, and it is basically intended to deceive and do harm. We also have false connection, which is kind of an example of poor journalism, wherein the headlines, the visuals, or the captions don't support the content. You may have content which says something else, whereas the headline says something else. Then false context, again, the content is genuine, but the context is totally false. So something that happened in Bangladesh, the sender might try to pass it off as something that happened in India and try to foment trouble. And then you have manipulated content. So the image might be morphed or the content might be manipulated in order to deceive. If you could move to the next slide. So these are the categories. Now, if we see the causes or the drivers. So for false connection, it is attributed mostly to poor journalism. Then satire or parody, the intent is just to parody. And then for imposter content, manipulated content, or fabricated content, the aim is to provoke or to punk. If we see the last two rows, so political influence and propaganda, these are the ones that are mostly driving misinformation in the internet age. And if we remember 2016, the US election had basically become a huge controversy due to this. It was alleged that Facebook posts and a lot of misinformation had been propagated on Facebook in order to favor one particular candidate for the election. The next slide, please. So now we know what is the problem. If we try to find out what is the magnitude of the problem, so this figure is from World Economic Forum Global Risk Report. They normally publish a global risk report every year. And in this, they had kept massive digital misinformation as one of the global threats. If you see the other threats here, they are like terrorism, major systematic financial failure, global governance failure. So at that time, they felt that massive digital misinformation is a threat of the same scale. that it could eventually lead to destruction of the entire humankind. Next slide, please. Now, coming closer to home, these are some examples of misinformation that caused lynching. This was an episode where in Karbi Anglong at that time, folklore is there that in Karbi they called it Fangdong, in Assamese they called it Hopadhora. Normally in everywhere else they are called child lifters. So this folklore is there, and exploiting this folklore, some miscreants basically this circulated this information that these two people who had gone to Karbi Anglong as tourists were in fact child lifters, and that eventually led to their mob lynching. So, and similar phenomena was observed across multiple states. I think there was an incident in Gujarat. There was similar instance in Telangana. In most of these instances, if we observe, the victims were either from some other state or from some other place. Their similar appearance was somewhat different from what people normally are used to seeing, and simply they were just passed off as child lifters, and the locals then eventually lynched them. So this is the kind of problem that fake information can lead to. Next, please. Again, in the time of pandemic, a lot of fake information was circulated. There were some people who were sending posts saying that there is no COVID, this is all just propaganda. And then there were some people who were passing off various things as remedies, which are actually not remedies per se. And some of these forwards led to people consuming high concentration alcohol, thinking that it will sanitize them internally, and eventually led to their death. Even some people even consume bleach just going by these WhatsApp forwards. So this is the kind of repercussion that false information may have. Next slide, please. Now, because currently we are living in an age where the information that we have access to, it is mostly curated. The moment we create a profile on Google, the moment we create a profile on Facebook, the kind of feeds that we get are accordingly filtered based on our profile parameters. If we have a liking for certain thing, Facebook or Google will continue to show us more of the same thing. Similarly, Amazon and other data providers. And after some time, it kind of creates a filter bubble around you so that you get access to only one particular kind of information, and a lot of other information which do not fit your filter parameters are normally missed out. Similarly, there is a concept of echo chambers wherein you tend to get close to people who support your ideas. In psychology, I think they call it confirmation bias. So people who support your ideas, you tend to basically receive their ideas and propagate it, whereas people who oppose your ideas, you tend to go away from them, and this kind of leads to polarization eventually. Next, please. So how do these websites give us feeds? So they normally use bots. Now, bots are again classified into good and bad. The good bots are the ones which can be identified and which have a bona fide use. So they may be the search engine bots, the commercial crawlers, the feed fetchers, or the monitoring bots. If you see Twitter, Google, Apple, Android, Yahoo, all of these use these good bots to give you feeds according to your preferences. Next. Then we have the bad bots. These bots don't give away their identity, and they work stealthily to either steal your information or lead to what is called a distributed denial of service attack, so that the target is eventually brought down. The server might go down for some time, or the network might go down for some time. A site like Facebook or something like WhatsApp, which gets its entire revenue from users being able to access its services, they get a lot of basically loss if the site goes down for even a few hours. So these bots try to disrupt the bona fide business activities, and even in some cases they try to bring down government servers. And if you see some of the bots, the names are normally identified once a bot has become so prevalent that the agencies notice them. So Nitol, Cyclone, Sentry, MB, and Mirai, these are some of the bots that had been noticed in the previous few years. Next, please. Now, what is the general distribution of these bots? In 2019, this is a report from Imperva. It said that the normal traffic on the internet, 62.8% is humans, that is actual users. Then 13% is the good bots. So if you have a website, on that website, around 62% traffic will be from real humans. Around 13% will be from bots, which are good, which are trying to basically create feeds for other humans. And 24%, a whopping 24%, traffic is from the bad bots, which are trying to basically either steal your information or cause a DDoS kind of attack. Next slide, please. So given this scenario, what is that we can do, or can technology help us? Now, there have been experiments in fake news detection using technology. There are two approaches that have been brought out. One is the linguistic approach. The linguistic approach normally looks at the kind of semantics, the kind of words that are being used in the content. So the premise is that a fake or misinformation will have more pronouns and more verbs, whereas a true or genuine news will have more nouns and prepositions. So using this premise, it tries to identify fake news from genuine ones. And network approach basically uses who has sent the information, what is the kind of network, and what is the location. Is the person aware of what he is saying? For example, if an expert says something, it will have a higher value. If someone who is not known in that field and he propagates something, then the value will be lower. So they try to use these parameters and try to come up with whether the information is true or fake. Now, the information that we are getting is mostly coming from a few major corporates: Google, Facebook, Twitter, Apple, and Amazon. So these are the major content providers today. And after being hit by these controversies around fake news, all of them have now come up with initiatives to curb fake news. Facebook has this strategy of removing and reducing fake news, and I think for that they have even hired a firm of basically a small consortium that looks at that goes through their feeds and tries to find out fake news. Google has funded multiple initiatives. One of it is FactMeta, and they are using artificial intelligence and the technologies that we discussed before in order to identify fake news from genuine ones. So it tries to flag if they think that you may have to reconsider, or you may have to, basically it's not verified news. So they'll just put a small flag saying that, okay, this is fake news and you need to be careful. Next, please. So whatever technological solution is there, it is still in infancy and it is catching up. The amount of fake news that has already been circulated, it's basically kind of unsurmountable for the technology to catch up in the current phase. And by the time the technology evolves, the fake news generators would also have some other means so that they can bypass the technology. So in that scenario, what can we do? We should know about search engine rankings. Normally, it is seen that when people Google something, they either click on the first or the second result that is thrown up. They hardly go beyond the first page. So you should know that this page ranking might be manipulated by bots. It might also be that it has been created based on the parameters that you have set. But in case you want to actually get more information about that topic, you may consider going to the next or the third page of the search result also. Then you should choose your online friends carefully, because your preferences are also driven by their preferences. If you basically befriend a lot of bots, then your newsfeed will be manipulated accordingly. Then the third point is you should read before sharing or run through a fact-checking website. Number of fact-checking websites have come up, and even if you don't go through a fact-checking website, at least just don't rely on the headline. You should read the content of that article before sharing it. Normally, it is seen that people just read the headline, they find it sensational, and immediately they click on share or forward it on WhatsApp. And then we had discussed about filter bubble. So if you have to burst the filter bubble, you should read non-curated sources. For example, all the news websites that are there. You may go to individual news providers or read magazines which are non-curated and diverse. So you'll get a different opinion. Even for non-curated websites, you may have a newspaper that is giving you one kind of perspective. It might be a leftist or a rightist kind of newspaper. So if you read diverse sources, you'll get a central kind of idea that, okay, this is what is happening around the world. Then you can use verification and educational tools in order to verify whether it is fake news or not. I think a number of universities have come up with various educational tools in order to help us try to organize, structure, and consume information. Next slide, please. So as part of Assam Police, and we are collaborating with CyberPeace Foundation, and we are coming up with these kind of advisories in order to spot fake news. So if you notice, we are saying that you should be beware of catchy headlines. Don't just rely on the headline, you should read the content also. Look closely at the URL. Is it from a genuine source, or has the URL been tweaked and basically try to impersonate some other genuine source? Investigate the source, cross-check with official websites. So for police related information, you can always come to Assam Police Twitter or Facebook handles. Similarly, for Assam government, you can go to mygov.in. So you should rely on the official sources rather than relying on WhatsApp forwards or unverified sources. Next slide, please. PIB has also come up with one WhatsApp number wherein if you get some WhatsApp forward which is purported to be information on some government scheme and you think that it might be fraud, so you can just send that to WhatsApp number, and they'll check and get back to you and confirm whether that is true or not. Next slide. So these are some further readings that we can go and read about combating fake news in digital age. The current state of fake news is just a paper, and then there is a book published by UNESCO also, Journalism, Fake News and Disinformation Handbook. So I think that is all from my side. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for such an insightful presentation. Now I hand over to Janice. Over to you.
Thank you. So I has actually discussed most of what I had planned, but I'll just add a few more things and maybe give you a few screenshots as well. So friends, I'll just quickly share my screen and then we'll begin from there. Right. So misinformation, the first thing that we need to understand is that misinformation is a problem. There are many people out there who still don't know information can be fake. I'll talk about most of our relatives that we have. The most common WhatsApp forward that I have seen is the Indian national anthem has been awarded the UNESCO award for being the best national anthem. Now, the problem is UNESCO does not give out such an award. So this is absolute nonsense. This is not true at all. But because the country is mentioned, because UNESCO, which happens to be one of the biggest UN bodies, because these trusted people are mentioned, we often believe these pieces of information and we end up sharing it. Now, my dear friends, let me tell you something. Sharing fake news can actually get you in trouble if it is the kind of news that can create problems in society. There are quite a few laws in India. So there is a National Disaster Management Act. There is an Indian Penal Code. So if anybody under various sections, 153(4), there are multiple sections. If anyone shares information about a pandemic or a disaster, which is fake, it is actually punishable under the National Disaster Management Act. Other than this, if anybody shares false information, which causes communal disharmony, which can lead to clashes between different groups, that is also a punishable offense. So now these messages about the best award for the national anthem and these pictures of India from far away. So satellites capture pictures of India from far away and they see the entire country has lit up. Why? Because it's Diwali. Now friends, think logically. Ideally the satellites are very strong. They can totally zoom in and capture everything. So if there is a cat walking on the street next to my house, Google, the satellites are very much capable of zooming in that close and capturing the cat. But if you think logically, from thousands of kilometers away, watching an entire country lit up, that logically doesn't make sense, because from so far away, states are tiny. So ideally, if you want to see a blip of light from so far away, an entire state needs to be on fire. So again, whenever you see anything, no matter how interesting it looks, no matter how convincing it looks, we need to build a habit of cross-checking everything before we share it, before we believe it. Now, not all kinds of fake news are harmful. Of course, as Sir mentioned, the example where the gentleman was wrongly accused of being a kidnapper and they were beaten up. I think he succumbed to death as well. So succumbed to the injuries as well. So all this is very dangerous. Right, you target one particular community, about one particular community, hate speech is shared and people end up believing it. So these examples of fake news are very dangerous, but sometimes there are different kinds of fake news which don't really create any kind of danger, which don't really cause problems in society, but they can be harmful for you as an individual. So I'll keep the presentation short. By 5, I'll try to finish it up. There's nothing new that I have to actually add here, just a few points here and there. So let's try to understand what exactly fake news means. So as Sir said, there are many different kinds of categories that fall under under the umbrella of fake news. But the ones I most commonly talk about are deliberate disinformation and hoaxes. So most commonly, what I have noticed is information is either twisted and presented incorrectly, or it is completely false. Now, twisting this information is also pretty risky, because many times information which is just twisted slightly, because it happens to come from trusted sources, it may be published in the name of a ministry, it may be published in the name of a political party, it may be published in the name of a government organization. Often people don't really know if they have to believe this or not, if they should believe this or not. So deliberate disinformation, where information is slightly modified and shared, and hoaxes are basically those pieces of information which are absolutely false. So today, if I spread news saying that Mars is going to collapse into Earth, has any astronomical society or organization said this? Has any organization confirmed this? No. So what I am sharing is absolutely false, and this is a hoax. Now, initially, this, as I mentioned, this was shared primarily through through traditional news media. But now it has increased because it has become much more easier to share this via online social media. So people can just very simply create one post, put some photo, put some video. Now these days, all criminals, everybody who wants to push a propaganda happens to be a Photoshop expert. So anybody can Photoshop anything anywhere, and they start spreading all these rumors and false information. Now, very quickly, why is it dangerous? Sir has spoken about all the different kinds of identifying, but what exactly are the dangers? The dangers are fake news can often lead to confusion, panic, hysteria, and misunderstanding. So confusion between people. I'll show you an example also to explain all these points clearly. But especially in this whole pandemic situation, a lot of false information has gone out in the name of credible sources. It has caused a lot of confusion. Are schools opening? Are schools not opening? If you go outside, you will have to pay a fine. What if there's an emergency? Will I still have to pay the fine? There were so many rumors that were going around. So people often panic, and it also results in confusion being created. Other than this, hysteria. Somebody, for example, spreads fake news that all Christians, are going to be thrown out of the country. Hypothetically, I'm a Christian, which is why I'm taking that particular name and saying it. Hypothetically, if someone shares a fake news that all Christians are going to be asked to leave India, it's going to cause a lot of hysteria. Every single person who belongs to this community is going to freak out. They wouldn't know what to do. There's no way to verify it. So it becomes very challenging. So it's very important for us as responsible internet users to verify each and every piece of information along with photos and videos before we believe them. Now, the only advice that I would like to share with you all is do not believe everything that you see online. Now, in online digital spaces, people can share anything about anyone, about any place. And because it's so simple, out of 5 articles that I read, 2 may actually be incorrect. So it's very important not to believe everything you see. And it is not just relevant for articles and documents that you receive, it's also applicable on the various links that you come across. These days, a lot of mails are sent that your income tax return has been deposited into your account. So your account has been 15,000 rupees has been credited into your account. Click on this link to claim it. Now jab tax bhara hi nahi hai, when we haven't really applied for this, how exactly is the money coming back? And a lot of people, they fall for these things. People might have actually filled for the returns and they receive these mails and they think it's actually true. So this is also an extension of false information, which often leads to scams and frauds happening with unsuspecting internet users. Now, I'll give you a few examples of the most popular things that went viral in these past few months. So this was a link which was shared in the name of Netflix. And this link said that all you need to do is answer 3 simple questions about your basic hygiene. And after you answer these 3 questions, you will get a free subscription of Netflix. Now, my dear friends, nothing is free in the world. I repeat this in every single session. So Netflix is not going to give you free subscription. So even if you fill 300 questions and forward this to 500 people, you're not going to get anything for free. So please be careful of these things. And the most interesting part is these links are often HTTPS. Now, a lot of people have the habit that if you see a link which is HTTPS, they end up believing it. But just because a link is HTTPS does not mean it is safe. We'll talk about that as well. But the point I'm trying to make is just because something free is being offered does not mean you believe it, does not mean you jump at the opportunity. If at all any platform is giving a reward, you're going to find it within the app. For example, if you have won a cashback on Paytm, you will find the notification within the Paytm app. You will not get a separate mail, or you will not find a random link on social media. You're going to find the notification within the application itself. So don't fall for these random links which promise you free things and services. Now, again, this message also goes viral every year. So this is around last year, Diwali time. This message said that Jio has 50 crore users in India. So to celebrate those many users, Jio is giving 498 worth recharges free. Recharges worth rupees 498 free. Same story, all you need to do is open the link, enter your basic details and forward the link to 20 people and you'll get the recharge. Now friends, the risk here is, the first principle is that you shouldn't be believing this because no company is going to give you free recharges. That's point number 1. Point number 2 is when you click on these links and when you enter your information, it might actually lead to your data being leaked. You never really know who these people are, who they work with. So when you enter simple things like your date of birth, like your email address, they are actually getting access to your confidential information, which is why if you ever try to, if you ever try to get a reward or something, then you should not be entering any kind of personal information. If you do have a reward that is pending, you will get it without entering any details as well. But if they're asking you to enter details to fill a form, very high chances it's a scam that has been created only to steal your information. Now, how exactly do you identify fake news? It becomes very, very difficult because many times information seems to be coming from trusted sources. For example, a couple of weeks back, I came across this article. This was shared in the name of Fox News channel. So Fox News happens to be a trusted news channel in Americas. And if Fox News says something, people believe it. They don't really question it much. So when I saw it, I thought, okay, Fox News is saying it, so it must be true. But when I actually read the article, I realized that they were endorsing a particular product. Now, no legitimate news channel is going to put an article that is promoting a product. Of course, all these news channels, all these websites, they do have advertisements. For example, if I open the Times of India website today, there are going to be ads on there. But they never do dedicated articles that are promoting a particular product. So somewhere I felt this is, little shady. And the caption was way too catchy. It says lose 50 pounds in 61 days. So how exactly in 2 months can someone lose so much of weight? I mean, I know friends who have spent years losing this much amount. So without working out, without dieting, simply eat a pill and you're going to lose so much weight. It seemed a little fishy, it seemed a little shady, and even the photos. If you look carefully, my dear friends, the photos here, one is the structure of the human body, and it shows that nobody really has wide set skeletons. It's all just fat or on you. And the picture on the left is actually a snapshot from a very popular TV show called Shark Tank. So on Shark Tank, entrepreneurs come and present their ideas, and if the judges, they like it, they are very hi-fi business people. And if they like the idea, they're going to invest their own money for a percentage of share in the company, and they're going to help the entrepreneur make their business a success. So if Shark Tank has featured this particular product, then it's actually real. If it wasn't real, it wouldn't have featured on Shark Tank. So all in all, when you look at these things, it's very difficult to identify what to believe, what not to believe. So friends, 3 things to keep in mind. Always, always, always investigate the source. Fox News is saying it great, but is this actually Fox News? Ask yourself that question. Cross-check other sources. If this product is so good and if it's featuring on such great TV shows, then other people might also be talking about it. But when I actually searched the name of this product, I wouldn't find it anywhere. So simple things like these let you identify if the information is to be believed or not. And finally, friends, always be skeptical of photos and videos. Now, humans are visual learners. And when we see a photo or a video, we tend to believe it more than just text. Why? Because if there's a photo, it's evidence it must be true. But that's not the case. These days, I'm sure all of you have heard of deepfakes. Deepfake basically started a couple of years back when Barack Obama's speech was manipulated and presented by a very popular comedian in the US, and I think in Canada, somewhere in the Americas, and he was trying to explain how it's very difficult to identify if a video has actually been tweaked or not. Now, these high-end tools are not available to petty criminals, but still these days, there are many tools. In fact, I think there are some applications offering filters as well, where you can simply upload a video of a celebrity and then you can do the voiceover. So the lips start moving like you're talking, and it's basically you speaking through the character. So it looks like the character actually said all this. Now, friends, because photos and videos can be very easily morphed and tweaked and edited, it is very important to be extra careful of photos and videos. Now, we'll talk about verification of this as well, but I just wanted to set the context as to what all things you have to keep in mind. So investigating the source, checking other sources, and being careful of photos and videos. Now, how exactly do you verify these things? As far as the source is concerned, always look at the URL. Now, my dear friends, let's say if I share a video with you, this whole session is going live on YouTube, and the link of this session is youtube.com/something something. So the word YouTube is there, which means this is a legit video uploaded on YouTube. Similarly, if this was genuinely by Fox News, the URL would have been foxnews.com/ the name of the article. Another example I'll give you, if you come across a video on Facebook, the link of the video will be facebook.com/videos/some numbers, which help identify identifiers of the video. So if this article was genuinely by Fox News, the URL would have said Fox News, but it doesn't. The URL says newsontime.com/November1/something else. So this is when I realized that this is not even the actual Fox News website. So I went to the genuine website, and when I opened the genuine website, I searched for Fox News and I found the official website. It is foxnews.com. You can see, my dear friends, now the format looks the same. The color scheme is exactly the same. So criminals put in so much effort that they're going to create fake websites which look exactly like the real deal to fool users, to fool readers. Now, when I compared, even the logos don't match. On one page, the logo is Fox News channel. On one page, the logo is Fox News and the time. Now, the logo Fox News channel is only used in the TV channel. If you open the TV channel, you will find this logo on the left, but the website has the logo on the right. So these simple things can help you identify what is to be believed and what is not. Also, almost every website has a feature to search. So you can search for things on a website. I copied this caption on the left, in the left screenshot, and I searched for it on the right. I couldn't find it anywhere, which means this article was never published by the actual Fox News. So this is just a case of clickbait where some company is pushing their product by assuming the name of Fox News. So people may impersonate popular channels, popular celebrities, popular officials, and try to share fake news, which is why, once again, please make it a point to cross-check the URLs. Other than this, I did talk about checking other sources. So, okay, before that, another quick example of actual financial frauds that are happening. So sometime back, I was on Facebook and I was going through my friends' stories. And this particular link I came across, and it has the photo of Noura Fateh Ali, and there's a logo of the Flipkart website, and it says iPhone SE for 2,500 rupees only. I said, wow, Flipkart probably does have a Mahalut sale. I clicked on the link. It took me to some random website. Now, this random website, the URL is flipkart.com/newsale.com. If this was the genuine Flipkart website, if it would have either taken me to flipkart.com or it would have opened the app on my phone. But it took me to a different website altogether, and I was getting an iPhone worth 1 lakh for 4,000 rupees only. Now, what you need to look at is this link is HTTPS. So just because a link is HTTPS does not mean it is safe. What exactly is HTTP? HTTP stands for Hypertext Transfer Protocol, and the letter S means secure. So when you are visiting a website which is HTTPS, all the information you are entering on the website is secure. For example, when I try to buy something from flipkart.com, because it is an HTTPS website, whatever information I am entering, I enter my card details, I enter my address, I enter so many things, billing address, shipping address. All that is between me and Flipkart only, no third party can access it. But if a link is HTTP, because there is no security of any kind, any third party can very easily hack into the server and read the information. So what you need to keep in mind is never buy anything from an HTTP website. The irony is a lot of government websites are HTTP, but because you're not actively entering any information on the website is fine. You usually use them to get information, to get numbers and all. And if at all you don't want to enter information, they will most likely redirect you to an HTTPS website. So you don't have to worry, but just because a website is HTTPS does not mean you believe it. Check the spellings as well. Finally, if you see offers that are too good to be true, they probably are not true. Now, one more thing that I found catchy, what I found out of place here was, this is another link I came across. I opened this link, I selected the iPhone, which is for 3499, and after you select a product, usually the e-commerce website will ask you to enter your address. I skipped the page. Now, if it was a genuine, authentic website, they would never let me skip the address. Without the address, how are they going to deliver it? But this website, it let me skip the address, and the only way they were accepting payments was through PhonePe and through Google Pay. They were not allowing cash on delivery. They were not allowing net banking. And this felt a little suspicious. So I finally went to this step. I would recommend none of you try this out. I was trying this on a dummy phone with a dummy account. So I was not in any risk, but I would recommend that you don't go this far. If you see a deal that is too good to be true, it probably isn't. Don't open the link. Right? So when I tried to go finally to the payment page, the payment was being made to a particular individual called Mayaram Kewat. Now, if it was going genuinely to the Flipkart company, the name would have been Flipkart Private Limited or Flipkart.com. The actual name of the company would have been written, but it's the name of an individual, and even the UPI ID looks a little fishy. So looking at these things, you can identify if a website which is offering deals too good to be true, if they are genuine or not. Now, how exactly do you cross-check with other sources? Friends, many times, as I mentioned, information is shared in the name of trusted people. For example, this particular document went viral in March, and it was shared in the name of the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. And it said that because of the coronavirus spreading at such an alarming rate, holidays are being declared in 4 states. And if anybody leaves their house or gathers in groups in these 4 states, they will have to pay a fine of rupees 5,000. Now, again, if you look carefully, the name of the ministries at the top, there's a signature at the bottom, there is a notification number at the top. All in all, this looks very believable. And this is precisely how most of the notifications and orders should look like. So people believed this, but many people were confused. What if there's an emergency? What if we leave? Are we going to be fined? So what we did was, you simply go to the official social media handle. Now, the Assam Police has an official social media handle. How do you identify if a handle is official? You see a blue tick next to it. So this is the official Twitter handle of the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. There is a blue tick next to it. And if the ministry actually makes an announcement, they share the same on their social media handles as well. So you can always cross-check with the official social media accounts, and you can find the truth behind information. Also, you can go to the official websites. Now, I went to the Ministry of Health official website, and here on almost every website of the ministry and government bodies, date-wise, all the list of all the updates is available on the website. So you can see here very clearly what are the latest updates. So on 31st March, 3 documents were published. On 30th, there were three notices which were published, 5 rather. On 29th, there was 1. So I scrolled downwards and I checked if on 13th March anything was issued. On 13th March, no such document was issued, which meant this is fake news and that I should not believe it. So very simple, friends, this whole thing, maybe because you're doing it for the first time, it may take longer, but once you start practicing it regularly, it will not take you more than a minute or so. You simply do a Google search of the caption. For example, if you see something very interesting online, if you don't know if it's true, do a simple Google search. You will see other websites talking about it. They will either say it's true or they'll say it's false. Or you straight away go to the social media handles or the website and you'll know what is true and what is not. Now, friends, other than this, we also mentioned about verifying images and videos. So I'll quickly give you an example of fake news in which photos were used and how we identified the truth behind it. So a couple of years back, there was this news information which went viral, and the news information said that Coca-Cola and cold drinks, basically cold drinks have been infected with the blood of an Ebola patient. So basically, somebody has mixed the blood of Ebola patient in Coca-Cola in all cold drinks. And if anyone consumes cold drinks, they are also going to catch the disease and they're also going to become sick. So people got really scared. And this was one of the photos. The caption of this photo was that all these bottles have been confiscated by the police. So all these bottles have been infected and they have the virus and, you should be safe. Many people in many parts across India started boycotting all the local kirana shops that was selling these cold drinks. So a lot of shopkeepers were suffering losses. In fact, even the companies, there were so many there were so many protests and all against these companies that they have no hygiene, they have no security at all. So a lot of problems happened. But somewhere I felt, this is too, this doesn't sound very convincing, because I've actually visited these factories and I've seen that there is no human intervention. Everything happens automatically. So it's very, very difficult for a person to have gone and actually dropped something in the tank. So I decided to investigate. Now, friends, there is a wonderful process to investigate any kind of photo, which is called reverse image search. You can simply search for these 3 words on any browser and you will find multiple websites offering it. So DupliChecker has a tool, Prepost SEO has a tool. Now, I personally would recommend using Google Images. Now, it's not necessary that you find all the answers here, because Google also doesn't have all the information available on the internet. But to a good extent, you should be able to find information using Google Images. How do you go to Google Images? You click on the URL images.google.com. So you type images.google.com. This web page opens up. In the search bar, you have the option to upload an image. You choose the image. So I uploaded this Coca-Cola image, and finally it gave me all these results. So Google says all these websites have the same photo available on them. So when I started reading it, I realized this was actually fake news. In fact, it was so popular that even NDTV spoke about it. That's the problem. Things start off very locally at a very small level, but they flare up so much that even big people start talking about it, right? So I did a simple reverse image search and I found so many websites which have the same image, and I realized this is actually fake news. Now, friends, this is what you can do for photos. For videos, there is a wonderful tool called InVid, INVID. I will not be showing you the process of InVid, because as of yesterday and as of I think a couple of days back, InVid is not making their mobile application and their tools available. So as soon as we get to know that InVid is up and working, we'll definitely update you on social media. But in the meantime, what you can do is, if you come across a video which you don't know if it's true or not, what you can do is play the video and pause at a point where you can distinctly see the people in the video. So let's say if it's a video of 2 people fighting, pause the video when the 2 people are very clearly visible, take a screenshot and do a reverse image search. You will find the truth behind the video as well. So please implement these processes so that you know the truth behind every photo and video. And as I mentioned, there are many more tools as well. So just like you have popular news channels, you have popular websites that are dedicated to busting fake news. So Alt News, Boom Life, Press Information Bureau, PIB happens to be a Government of India initiative. The others are all private parties. Fact Checker, SM Hoaxler, Check for Spam. So any kind of message which goes viral anywhere, these people pick it up and they confirm if it's true or not. For example, I showed you the document which was shared in the name of the ministry that holidays have been declared and 5,000 rupees fine. I went to Alt News and they have very wonderfully explained in an article this is false and that this has not been actually published by the ministry. So you can visit these websites as well if you're unable to find anything anywhere else. Finally, friends, it's very important to build resilience. Now, we have tried to give you all the information as far as verifying information is concerned. Other than this, there are many more risks which you need to be aware of. Now, I'll just quickly take another 2 minutes and explain one more concept, and we'll talk specifically about cybercrime and financial frauds in the next session. So don't worry, just stay tuned for our next session on next Thursday, and we will talk in detail about how cybercrimes happen, how you can file a complaint, what to do if financial fraud happens. We'll talk about all that. But one very important risk in the context of fake information is a phishing attack, PHISHING. How a phishing attack works is people will send you a mail or a message with a link in it, and they'll say, oh, your account is expiring, click on this link and update. Or if it's on a messaging app, it will be a trusted friend who's saying, oh, listen, your photo got viral, check it out. And because you are scared, you're anxious, you will click on the link. And the minute you click on the link, it is going to take you to a login page. What is a login page? A login page is a page where you enter your username and your password. So This is the login page. I think I don't have that here. So anyway, every platform has a login page. You have a login page for Gmail, for YouTube, for Snapchat, for Instagram, for Facebook. So when you click on these links, it will take you to the login page. And the problem is this login page is not the genuine one. It is a spoofed page which is created purely to steal your username and your password. And if you do end up sharing your username password on this spoofed website, you have literally given your username password on a thali to the criminal. So please be very careful if you get random mails, messages with links. Cross-check with the sender, especially if it's a trusted friend, call them up and ask them. Because many times what happens is people fall prey to phishing attacks, and then their accounts are misused to commit fraud with many more people. Some time back, I received a message like this from my friend on Facebook Messenger. Very dear friend, she says that Janice, so I'm participating in a singing competition and I have sung a song and it's uploaded on YouTube. She sent me the link to YouTube and it looked fishy. It was youtube.com. No, it wasn't YouTube. It was u-tube.xyz/something. She said, and it was HTTPS, right? So she said that click on this link. And when I clicked on it, it took me to an external page, which happened to be the login page of Gmail. It looked very believable. It looked remarkable. It looked exactly the same. But again, the URL was fishy. The actual login page of Google is accounts.google.com/login. Now I remember all these things, but for other people, maybe it won't be so obvious. So I entered random nonsense into the login page and I sent a message, okay, done, I hope you win. Suddenly she says, oh, Janice, I think you've entered the wrong details. If you enter the correct details, only then will your vote count. I'm like, listen, go make a fool of somebody else. And then I immediately called her up and I said, what is happening on your account? She said, Janice, it's been a week. Somebody has hacked into my account and they're sending everybody else messages. Don't believe it. Now, this is exactly how hacking happens. It's not very complicated. People very simply create these links which look innocent, and they steal your username and password. Now, Google Chrome and Gmail will give you warnings. If at all you try to open a phishing link, they'll give you a warning like this. The page you're trying to open is suspicious. Please be careful. Finally, friends, a few tips for your passwords. Now, because phishing attacks are on the rise, because so many things are happening online, it becomes very, very important that you take extra care of your passwords. A common habit that everyone has is using the same password for every account. Please don't do that. If even one account is compromised, all your other accounts are also gone because the password is the same. Tip number one. Tip number two, make sure your passwords have no meaning. If you use names, mobile numbers, vehicle numbers, dates of birth as passwords, because they make sense, because they're logical, they can be guessed very easily using dictionary attack and social engineering. For example, if I make my cat's name my password, I share my cat's name on social media whenever I post a picture of her. So essentially, everybody who is my friend on social media or follows me knows the names of my cats. They can very easily collect this information through social engineering, use it against me, and get access into my account. So please make sure your passwords are absolutely senseless and they are not same. Finally, please activate two-factor authentication on every single account. 2FA, how does it work? After you enter your username and your password, you will get an OTP. You mostly use this for financial transactions. Activate this everywhere else and as well. What is the benefit? Let's say hypothetically, if someone has your password, without the OTP, they will not be able to access your account. So please activate 2FA. And finally, no matter what happens, never, never, never share your passwords with anybody. If you share your passwords, there is a very high chance of it being misused. In fact, we get so many cases regularly, friends. I'm sure Sir will also elaborate and agree with me on this, that if you do share information which is private, there is a 90% chance of it being misused. So please be very careful. Finally, if anyone is interested in working with us, you can always volunteer with us using this QR code. And the name of our volunteer group is CyberPeace Core. You can visit cyberpeacecore.in, and we are tagging all these names in the post as well. So you can always work with us. And finally, if you have any queries, you can always reach out to us right now in the Q&A section. I already see 3 questions. So you can post more questions in the next 2-3 minutes. I think we can take some questions. If you're unable to answer any query, or if we run out of time, you can reach out to us via the WhatsApp helpline. So you can always tweet to Assam Police if you have queries, or you can reach out to the CyberPeace Foundation using this helpline number. So thank you very much, everybody. I hope you learned something new. And I think Salik sir, over to you.
Thank you, Janice. Let's see if we have questions. So the first question is from Shivraj. He is asking, what about bots? And are they doing most of the spreading, or it is coming from real people?
I think I have already covered that in the presentation. Around in 2019, 24% of the traffic was from bots, 62% from humans, and 13% was from good bots. So that is already covered.
Okay. So Next question is from Galaxy S10, and the question is, what are the ways to curb misinformation? So either Janice or Shatank, you can answer this.
I think both Sir and I did talk about it. So I think I would just very quickly repeat what Sir and what I said. Be logical, my dear friends. Just like in the real world, simple example, before buying a piece of cloth, before buying a top, you stretch it, you check the silai, you check the price tag, you check things, and you don't just believe whatever the shopkeeper is saying. Similarly, in online spaces also, please think logically. If you see something which is too good to be true, for example, another popular scam, Indigo is giving you free flight tickets to Thailand. All you need to do is spin the wheel. You spin the wheel, it will give you either 1 or 10, any number of tickets. And again, same story, send it to 50 friends. Friends, trust me, I have sent it to 500 people. Okay, I have tested and proven all these things, so they don't work. So be very logical before you believe anything. And I think we did talk about reverse image search and going to the other platforms like Press Information Bureau. So using these basic techniques can help you as an individual curb fake news. And on the other hand, platforms are definitely trying their best. So Sir did very beautifully talk about Google's initiative, Facebook's initiative. In fact, even WhatsApp, at the time of the elections, they had a tip line. If anyone is sharing fake news about the elections or trying to push propaganda, call us up, tell us. So all these mechanisms are in place. It depends on how well we are going to use it. Sir, if you'd like to add something to this.
Sure. I think Janice already pointed out that there are provisions in Disaster Management Act, especially Section 52 is there. So if you spread any misinformation, law enforcement agencies will take action against you. Other than that, what you can also do is, if you see some fake news being floated in social media, there is always an option of reporting abuse. So you should exercise that option. If you see that some hate speech is going on, you can always report it, and you can also flag it to us through our various channels. You can send it to us in Facebook Messenger or in Twitter DM.
Okay, so next question is from Nandan Kumar Chatterjee. He wants to know, can general people apply for Blue Badge Twitter or Facebook? So I guess the verification process for both Twitter and Facebook is something which general people cannot apply. So I think you have to live with this fact that Blue Badge is not for general people. Next question.
Yeah. So quickly, just one point. They actually have certain provisions. For example, you need to be a celebrity, because more than common citizens, it's celebrities who are impersonated. So to make sure that no big brand is used to do anything illegal, it becomes important for celebrities and brands. For example, Adobe definitely has verified handles. Assam Police will have a verified handle, because I can totally create a name in the name of an account in the name of Assam Police and post whatever I want. Naam kiska jayega? Assam Police, and people are going to believe it. So if any organization, an individual has a huge following, and if they're standing in a position of being popular, then only I think the blue tick makes sense. Just wanted to add this.
Yeah, but personally, I feel that both Twitter and Facebook needs to really work on their verification standards, because there is no standard procedure which they follow. You'll find a lot of accounts which are verified which shouldn't be, and there are accounts which are not verified which should be. So it's a bit of mess. Anyway, so next question is from Pranjit, and the question is there any way to report forwarded WhatsApp messages? It seems to fake. So I guess WhatsApp also have launched a number where you can share some of these misinformation. Janice, if you can elaborate on this.
Right. So I think the question aapne pucha is very relevant. I remember the tip line was being widely used when the whole election was going on. But right now, and they were very specific. They were not catering to all kinds of fake news. They were specifically dealing with fake news about elections. Right now, I'm not very sure if it works. So I would recommend, if at all you come across fake news, and if it's something very not so dangerous. For example, if it's the kind where, send to 20 people if you love your mummy, do this and you will receive 1,000 rupees. If you see these messages, you can just tell the person, I don't believe this, don't send it. But if it's a serious matter where hate speech is being pushed, or some organization is being defamed, or an individual is being defamed, you can always file a complaint at the cybercrime portal also. So in cases where fake news is causing problems, where it's going to cause unrest in society, you can always go to the cybercrime portal. Otherwise, even these websites we mentioned, alt news, even Assam Police, tell the Assam Police, they might just do a social media post on it, that this is going viral. You can tell us, we'll do a post, we'll do a video on it. So the point is, you reach out to whatever tip lines you can, report to the cybercrime portal, go to the tip lines of alt news and all these people. If they think it's going viral, they're definitely going to do an article on it, so that maximum people become aware. So that's what I would recommend in these situations.
I would just add.
All right. So next,
the cybercrime portal is cybercrime.gov.in. So you might make a note of it that the cybercrime portal is cybercrime.gov.in. And we have a social media team. So if you forward something to us, they will go through it. They will cross-check with sources, and they'll come back to you saying that, okay, whether it's genuine or not. And if it is something on which legal action has to be initiated, it will be forwarded to the right channels for taking legal action.
All right, sir. So next question is from Bhaskar Das. The question is, even people who are not literate enough using smartphones these days, especially in Assam, how we are making them aware about fake news? Any plan to train the Gaon Panchayat so that they can make the villagers aware? So I guess we have been doing a lot of awareness initiatives, both on social media and on the ground. District Police is also doing a lot of awareness campaigns on this. Shatang sir may add more to this.
Yes, basically, if you see at all levels, Assam Police has a handle, and then every district unit has a handle. So through our handles, we try to push out genuine information. And if there is some very common fake news that is floating around, we try to counter it, saying that this is fake. And we try to give the genuine source along with it, so that you can get the two perspective. Along with that, we also organize various awareness programs, which we are currently part of. So that is an ongoing process, and we'll continue that.
And also, India has a population of 1 billion people. So, it's not something that we can do overnight, which is why I think these collaborations actually make a lot of sense. Collaborating with the state police departments and actually going out to places where people are not aware of these things, which is why which is I said in the beginning, there are still people who don't even know fake news is a problem. Unhe pata hi nahi hai. They think whatever WhatsApp Baba says is actually true. So breaking this myth is very important, but again, it's going to take some time. Of course, a lot of initiatives are happening, which is why we invite you all also to join us, so that together, maybe in your areas, of course, different languages are spoken across different parts of the country. So if you all can collaborate with us and work as volunteers, it will be easier for us to train you all, and then you can go out to these areas and further take this message. Because मैं कितना जाऊंगी है ना, हमारी team भी, it's not so large that we can go to every part of the country. So it has to be a collaborative effort where everybody comes together and tries to make every citizen aware.
All right. So next question is from Kunal, and he's asking on platforms like Instagram, a lot of accounts try to push propaganda and malice against a particular caste, religion, and when people report it to Instagram, they hardly take any action, saying that it doesn't violate any community guidelines, and even re-reporting doesn't yield a positive outcome. What are the options available to us thereon while remaining anonymous?
If I can take that. We have a large number of informants who keep sharing such information with us, and we then follow it up with legal action. Normally what happens is, this is because of the difference in cultures. What we see as very blasphemous or going totally against our morals and norms, they see it as freedom of speech. So that difference is there, but you are well within your right to forward it to us, and we'll take it forward.
Okay, Janice, do you want to add anything to it?
Sir, I think we've covered most of the topics with respect to misinformation. In the next session, we'll be talking in detail about cybercrime and redressal. So, as far as fake news is concerned, you always have the option of reporting to the tip lines, tweeting it out, and going to the cybercrime portal. But other than that, many more options are available, which we'll discuss in detail in the next session. So, I think for fake news, I hope we've been able to shed some light on the growing infodemic. So, you have a pandemic, and you also have an infodemic, which we all need to collectively fight against. So I just hope that we were able to give you some information and you share it with all the people around you so that nobody becomes a victim of false news and these scams.
All right. So we'll take few questions. Then we'll wrap it up. So next question is from Dr. Amrita Singh. The question is, what strategies of distribution beyond publishing might be considered by people responsible for handling misinformation?
Well, as we discussed, bots is one. They may have malicious bots to spread that information, and then there are a lot of impersonated accounts that have been created on all kinds of social media, and these fake accounts keep on pushing fake information. So these strategies are being taken, and for countering that, we report these profiles as fake so that they can be taken down. And if it is something that is illegal or constitutes an offense, then legal action is taken against them.
We'll take our last question from Rudrajit Datta, and he is asking, in case of IPv4, we get the destination IP from nodal officer, whereas IPv6 we do not get the destination IP. So basically, he wants to know that how to track down any case regarding Facebook and Instagram destination IP, because it is very significant to trace down the destination. So he wants to know more about it. Maybe this question is specifically for you, sir.
I think this is not something that we should be
So
discussing on a
IPv4
public
and
forum. We can have a separate closed session for that.
All right. So I guess that's all for today. So thank you so much for your time, sir. Yeah.
Before wrapping up, I would just like to add, in case someone is reporting fake news or hatred, it's better that you share it through DM or direct messages rather than pushing it on the Twitter handle or sharing it on Facebook and thus adding to the spread.
Definitely. It's a very important thing which you have highlighted. It will definitely help in stopping it, because once you publicly share it, you are ultimately propagating it to a wider audience. So thank you so much, sir, for your time. And I guess all the attendees would definitely today's session will definitely help all the attendees to fight the misinformation. So thank you so much, and thank